Hey everyone, and welcome. If you're in the apparel business, you know the constant headache of returns. I mean, they eat into your margins, they mess with your inventory, it's a huge challenge. Today, we're going to zero in on one specific customer behavior that, honestly, holds the key to not just cutting down on those returns, but really understanding your customer on a whole new level.
So I want to start with a question for you. We all have these simple stories we tell ourselves about why customers send things back. But what if that most common, most accepted story is actually blinding you to a massive opportunity? What if that simple story is costing you sales, customer loyalty, and some really crucial insights about your own products?
The behavior we're talking about is called bracketing. And if you're selling clothes online, you see this every single day. A customer's looking at a shirt, but they're just not sure about the fit. So what do? They buy both the medium and the large, planning to just return the one that doesn't work. Seems pretty straightforward, right? Well, the real story is so much more interesting than that.
Okay, so let's first talk about the common assumption. This is what pretty much everyone thinks they know about bracketing. It's the standard narrative that's been driving retail thinking for years. And this, right here, this is what it sounds like from the customer side. It's a totally logical move for them. They're just trying to find the perfect fit and minimize their own risk. For you, the retailer, this quote is just the beginning of the journey. But the story your data is telling you at the end of it, well, it's usually incomplete. And this is the assumption that follows. The customer buys two, they try them on at home, they keep the one they like, and they send the other one back. A simple, clean, one-for-one exchange. Your system logs a sale, it logs a return, and that's the end of it. Case closed, right?
Well, not exactly. This is where we have to push past that surface-level thinking, because when you actually dig into the data, that simple story starts to fall apart, and it reveals a much more complex and, frankly, way more valuable picture of what your customer is really up to.
So let's pull back the curtain and look at the hidden reality. It turns out that instead of just one single outcome, a bracketing purchase can actually end in one of three very different ways. And understanding these three paths is the absolute first step to transforming your entire return strategy.
And here they are, the three possible outcomes. First, you've got the classic keep one, return the other. We all know that one. Second, the customer returns both. And third, and this is the one that's so often ignored, the customer keeps both. Each one of these tells a completely different story, and what's really powerful is how you can act on each one.
Okay, so outcome one is the one we all expect. But even here, there's a hidden layer of insight. You can't just see it as a sale and a return. You have to see it as a data point. Think about it. If thousands of your customers are bracketing a medium and a large of the same shirt, and 80% of them end up keeping the medium, what is that screaming at you about your sizing chart?
Now, what about outcome two, where they return both items? This is not just a lost sale. No, this is a direct piece of feedback. Your customer is literally telling you, neither of these worked for me. Maybe it's a major sizing issue, or maybe the color, the fabric, or the quality just wasn't what they expected. This is a huge red flag that you absolutely cannot afford to ignore. And then there's the third outcome, which might be the most overlooked of all. The customer keeps both. So why? Well, maybe they just loved both colors. Maybe they bought one for a friend. Or, and this is really crucial, maybe they just missed your return window and now they're stuck with something they don't even want. Each of these possibilities demands a totally different response from you.
So here's the bottom line. Once you can see these three different stories playing out in your data, you can finally stop just reacting to returns and start proactively taking action. Let's look at exactly how to build this into a real strategy. We can basically organize our actions into three main buckets, and each one is tied directly to one of those outcomes we just talked about. We're going to move from just processing returns to providing proactive guidance, making smart suggestions, and actually building real, lasting customer loyalty. This is proactive guidance in action. Remember those keep one, return other customers? You now have incredibly powerful data. So instead of letting the next customer guess, you add a simple note on the product page. Shopping between sizes, 80% of customers who bought both M and L kept the medium. Boom! You've just used your own data to prevent a future return.
Now, for the customer who returns both items, the old way was to just process the refund and write it off as a lost sale. The new way? You see it as a signal. The follow-up email you send shouldn't just be a refund confirmation, it should include smart suggestions for other shirts with a slightly different cut or a different fabric that might be exactly what they were hoping for. And for that customer who keeps both, the old way was, well, to do nothing. You just count 2 sales and move on. But the new, loyalty-building way is to actually reach out. Send a simple message that says, hey, we noticed you kept both sizes. If one was a gift, or if you change your mind, we've extended your return window by an extra 30 days. You've just turned a potential point of friction into a moment of pure customer delight.
What this all really adds up to is a much deeper, more authentic way of being customer-centric. It's about actually listening to what the data is trying to tell you and making sure that no customer's story, no matter how subtle it is, gets left behind.
And this really is the core philosophy, right? It's not about catchy slogans or mission statements. True customer centricity is about building systems that can actually recognize and respond to all the little nuances of the customer journey and turning potential problems, like returns, into amazing opportunities to build stronger relationships.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Go look at your returns data. Go beyond the surface-level numbers. Which stories are hiding in there? Are you only seeing that one simple story of bracketing, or are you ready to uncover the other two? Because the answer could fundamentally change how you think about your customers and your products. Thanks for joining me.